Hey Hunters, Halozu here with another video. Kind of a special one because this is talking about One D&D. The basically 5.5, the official 5.5 from Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons and Dragons. It's basically a modified 5th edition that looks... now, as a quick statement, I've kind of referenced this before, but I'm going to be keeping my D&D 5.5 project going because it's sort of like, at this point, a passion project that is like, this is what I would do instead of what One D&D is doing. So I do have both pulled up, so I've got character origins and expert classes. I will be talking about character origins a bit, but I'm mostly focused on expert classes because this has a lot of the changes. Like, character origins was interesting, but this has a lot more to talk about in terms of stuff that definitely needs to be changed. And yeah, it's something. So I will be talking about pretty much all of this. There's some I might not really talk about too much. So we will look at stuff. So as a blanket statement, I'm going to say that I'm not entirely happy with One D&D. It definitely feels a lot like what I'll call the Paizo problem, which is they're doing a lot of changes, and it does not hit the mark too much. It's sort of like they're changing stuff that doesn't even need to be changed. Like, character origins changed where the starting ability score increases come from, and changed how Dragonborn work. Two things that didn't need to change because they just got changed for the better. Albeit Dragonborn did kind of need to change, but it's not the change that we got. It's definitely actually gone back further. But anyway, I digress. So, let's look at this one. Expert classes. So, basically, there's going to be 4 roles in D&D again. However, they aren't the 4 you would expect, which is actually what caught me off guard, is that it's expert, mages, priests, and warriors. Mages are what you would expect. They're what I nickname mystics, which are the spiritual successors of controllers from 4th edition. And the sorcerer, warlock, and wizard are the 3 mages. That was expected, because they're also all arcane. So, yeah, it's interesting. But then there's also experts, which is they have the expertise features and elements of other classes. So they kind of mix in stuff from other roles, I guess. So they can have stuff from priests, mages, or warriors. Even though rogue doesn't really do that as much. But meanwhile, priests, and the odd one in experts is bard. It's bard, ranger, and rogue, which I get with the skill stuff, but I also feel like that's not what I would do. And I'll mention it afterwards. But priests, you have the cleric, druid, and paladin, of all things. These are your healers and supports, basically. And then the warriors, you got the barbarian, the fighter, and the monk. They're masters of combat that can deal and endure many wounds. Monk is the oddball of this one, and paladin's the oddball of priests. So for these, I would actually rename experts into scouts and move monk over to here instead of bard. And also artificer is going to be an expert. So yeah, that's something. And then warriors, I would rename tanks and move paladin over here, replacing monk. And then priests, I would rename support and then move Bard over to here instead of Paladin. Because Paladin's kind of a weird one because they don't have full spell casting. They at least have lay on hands, though. But this is definitely an interesting idea that there's going to be feats exclusive to some. So, like, there will be mage-only feats, priest-only feats, warrior-only feats, and expert-only feats. Which we'll see a few of those because, I mean, of course we will. Experts, this is for experts, so these are the 3 shown. So it doesn't have any rules on its own. It's just like what sort of stuff a class does. And also, some magic items and feats are going to be exclusive to these. Primary ability is just a term that's like, oh yeah, you need... This is the most important stat to your character. And you must have a 13 in the ability to multiclass. And it's also for each class. So you can't multiclass as a bard. Like, if you start as a bard but don't have Charisma 13, then you can't actually multiclass. Which is an interesting change that's sort of like, huh. Normally don't expect to see that. And this stuff is just, Those... yeah. Though the subclass stuff, it's going to be interesting because some classes get more stuff. But we'll see. So, the first class is the Bard. So, Bard is in a weird place, to say the least. Still only max out at 2 cantrips at first level, which is a shame. But you'll notice this. There's no spells learned. And it says prepared spells per spell level. So, how it works is... So they're changing how you prepare spells. And basically bards are now prepared spellcasters, which is awesome. And also your spell slots are actually going to be determined by your total level. It's just like what the multiclassing rules showed for spellcasting. But anyway, so the bard, starting HP, D8 per bard level for hit dice, 8 plus con mod, HP at first level. After first level, it's D8 or 5 plus your con mod. Simple enough. A shame to see that it still adds your con modifier. I still say it should be con score instead, which anyone familiar with 5.5 will actually know that was exactly what I did. That's like the one change to the starting HP of all classes, that it's con score instead of mod for first level. But it is what it is. It would have been nice if that was the one thing they changed here, but nope. Saving throw proficiencies, dexterity and charisma, same as you had before. So the skills... Okay, this is something I am going to say now. I don't like how they're doing it. Deception, performance, persuasion, or any 3 skills. Just say any 3. Like, you're implying that this has changed when it actually hasn't. It's like, why? It's so annoying. Just don't say that. Anyway. Weapons, you only get simple weapons, so you've lost the hand crossbow, longsword, and rapier. You still get short swords, though, because they're now simple weapons for some reason. It's weird. I think scimitars are probably simple as well. I don't know. We haven't seen weapons yet. You also get 3 musical instruments of your choice. Same as you had before. And this time you don't have options forced down your throat. And then armor training, light armor, because of course. So that hadn't really changed. Starting equipment, you either get 100 gold flat, or you get this stuff. So I don't like how they changed it to where it's not an option for your items as much. I feel like they should have gone, like, once again, I have to ask the question, did this need to be changed? Starting equipment, or at least like the not starting gold. Starting gold's changed that. That's fine. But starting equipment, like the preset, I feel like it should have been kept to what it was because it worked. It was fine. There was no need to change it. This, it's just like, okay. Not a fan of it at all. Multiclassing. You have to have at least 13 to multiclass. It's not your initial class. You get one skill of your choice, one instrument of your choice, and you gain light armor training if you didn't already have it, and you add your bard level to determine spell slots for casting spells, and prepare spells for each of your classes individually. So basically, you now prepare a set number of spells for each level. I think this is mostly to say, okay, well, you can't just have a million first level spells or take multiple ninth level spells, because that can be a bit powerful at times. So I kind of get the change. So I'm actually going to talk about spellcasting first. Well, both of these are going to have problems. Bardic Inspiration at first level. It's a bit different. So first off, there's boosted D20 test, which is literally what it did before. Like an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw. Roll the Bardic Inspiration, add it to it. However, how this is done is different. So you don't give Bardic Inspiration away anymore. Instead, it is always your reaction to Bardic Inspiration. So whenever an ally fails a D20 test, i.e. fails, like they roll the D20, it fails, you can use Bardic Inspiration and roll your dice, which starts up as a D6, which I think is it's the same as before. And then add that to the roll. Then there's the second option, which is new. Heal. Basically, after a creature takes damage, you can use your reaction to roll Bardic Inspiration and heal that much HP to the creature. So basically, it's just a damage reduction that's a fancy way of saying damage reduction. It is using healing, which can be relevant to some features. So do keep that in mind. And it's a neat idea, though I am not the biggest fan of its just flat Bardic Inspiration die. I think it would have been nice to have Charisma added to that, if only because, like, when you roll a 1, it's going to hurt, especially at higher levels, because it's really not good, especially at first level, because this is a daily use ability. Yeah. Speaking of uses, though. Okay, so it's expended when it's rolled. And you get proficiency bonus uses. Why? I hate this. This is a thing in design that I have not liked. Ever since Tasha's, I have hated every time classes have proficiency bonus uses for a feature. I hate them. At the very least, though, like, if it's a class that could use multiple stats, as their primary or secondary. It doesn't have like a set like main stat. Sure, it's fine if it doesn't have a set secondary. Or if it's like the psionic subclasses where they made one way of psionics working, and in order to apply it to multiple classes, it's like, okay, we're going to make it proficiency bonus based. But in that case, it was kind of cool because it was like, okay, they work the same no matter what class, which is why it uses that. So I'm fine with it. But here, I honestly liked how it used charisma. Of course, it can lead to the fact that you can make it scale up a bit faster or slower. But at the very least, having 3 uses instead of 1 at first level was great when it was a long rest resource. Especially here because of a reason we're about to see. At higher levels, at 5th level it becomes a D8. 10th level it becomes a D10. 12th level, 15th level it becomes a D12. Which is the same as it was. So you get the bigger dice. Spellcasting. Okay, so quick PSA. How the spell lists work has been entirely changed. Instead of having a class spell list, you instead have a source spell list. So you're either an arcane, divine, or primal caster. That determines your spell list. And your spells are all prepared from that spell list. So, this is how Bard spellcasting works. They're prepared spells. The default is Color Spray, Disguise Self, Prestidigitation, and Vicious Mockery, which, let's be honest, that was always your prepared... Like, that was always how that one worked. Vicious Mockery, it's like, yeah, you get away with this one. Because it was your default spell. It's like, I mean, you had it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And alternatively, i.e. how you should normally do it, you compare any 2 0-level spells into first-level spells of your choice. So, yeah. It is what it is. And also note that you prepare 0-level spells now, which honestly is a welcome change because it kind of makes sense. It's certainly better than that god-awful retraining your spell system. Like, seriously, that was bad. And bards prepare from the arcane list, which slightly problematic for them. You also have access only to divination, enchantment, illusion, and transmutation spells. So abjuration, evocation, conjuration, and necromancy spells are inaccessible to you. Which does actually mean a few spells you used to be able to use are lost forever because, yeah, it's a thing. So the 3 you lost were actually Blade Ward, Light, and Mage Hand are the 3 cantrips you lost because of this change. This does mean you technically get Mind Sliver because, I mean, it's an enchantment spell. It's not going to change, so you will have access to it now, but at least it can be assumed you'll have access to it. But anyway, whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace spells as usual. At higher levels, you can prepare more spells. And there's a prepared bard spells section for recommendations. Slight note to wizards. Please move this Garbo over to that only. Don't put it here. It's not. I think that should be moved. Like, I think it'd be better if it's moved there just because it's like Here it's kind of confusing as to how. It takes a second to understand, oh wait, this is the suggestions. You really just prepare any 2 plus any 2 cantrips. Spell slots. It shows how many spell slots you have at each level to cast your bard spells. Now basically it's the same number, but do keep in mind this does not mean we're back to the dark age of spellcasting and prepared spells that Paizo insists to keep going with, but that's a whole other thing. But you will also notice that that's not what it is here. It's still, they're all spontaneous, basically. So the spells you prepare and the spells you cast that day, when you choose to use a spell slot, you decide what you cast. Good. Keep it that way. Because screw Paizo for not doing it. It's bad. Spellcasting ability, charisma. Of course it is. Why would you change it? Spellcasting focus, musical instrument still. I would like to see them actually bring out you can use an arcane focus for them. I think that'd be cool as well. So, second level, expertise. I mean, it's expertise. It's what you had before. One critique, though. Move this to first level. Ranger and Rogue get it at first level. Let Bards have it at first level. Don't make them wait for it. And also that fixes another problem. Songs of Restoration. Okay. Put simply, there is a big problem with Bards and the spell lists. Because they're on the Arcane spell list, it lacks a bunch of spells you used to have. And specifically, a lot of support spells you used to have. As some of the spells you've lost include Cure Wounds, Healing Word, Heroism's lost, Lesser Restoration. You're also losing Dispel Magic because it's Abjuration, unfortunately. Glyph of Warding is also Abjuration. Mass Healing Word was introduced in Tasha's. You're losing that. You didn't have Revivify, actually. And then there's also Greater Restoration at 5th level, Mass Cure Wounds, Raise Dead. Regenerate, Resurrection at 7th, Powered Heal at 9th. Those are gone. They've been removed from your spell lists because you're using Arcane only. So, to compensate, at second level, not first, you have Songs of Restoration. So basically, when you reach certain levels, you get new spells. I will say, just as a replacement to Song of Healing, or Song of Rest, this is fine. It's not the worst, but as I will... Basically, what I'll call it is a Band-Aid feature. Meaning that it's ended up kind of taking the place of, oh, this one change has caused a problem for the class, where there's a lot of spells you don't have anymore. Okay, here's a way to get them back, but we can only bring back so many because you're only getting one per level of spell. And it's a level after you get that level. But second level, you get Healing Word, which is honestly, for support bards, the most important spell of all. And you have to wait till second level for it. Yeah, great. Fourth level, Lesser Restoration. Sixth, Mass Healing Word. Ironically, because that wasn't actually something you got in the player's handbook. Eighth, Freedom of Movement. 10th, Greater Restoration. So, if it wasn't for the fact of the spell list change, I would say this is amazing. But because of it, this just hurts. Like, I may not like Bard, but I have to say, it just feels bad. It's like, okay, at second level, you get what is one of the other most important Bard spell to have, which is Healing Word. Because, yeah, having that heal, it's amazing. But it's still just like, ugh. So, and as a preliminary thing, yeah, I am not liking the spell list change. And I honestly have to say, it's definitely not worked. It's causing more problems than it solves. It's not worth it at this point. Third level, you get your subclass. I will forever believe that this should be a first level thing, not third level, but it is what it is. Fourth level, you get a feat. So yeah, instead of saying ability score improvement or a feat, it's ability score improvement's a feat. Basically, it works like Baldur's Gate. That's the simplest way of explaining it. But, it is what it is. But also, once again, not the biggest fan of this. It's more like problems of the edition at the start that persist today, but we can talk about it in a bit. Fifth level, Jack of all trades. So this got moved back from second level. So, yeah. This has actually caused another problem. And, I mean, on one hand, it's fine as a fifth level feature. I'm just going to have to point out that there's an even bigger problem with it, which is, it's moved Font of Inspiration, aka Font of Bardic Inspiration. So, at 6th level, you are getting a subclass feature, of course. But Font of Bardic Inspiration at 7th freaking level. I'm just going to be honest. And of course, so basically the problem with this is you regain all your Bardic Inspiration uses when you finish a short or long rest now. So normally it's just a long rest that you get it back. At 5th level, you used to get Font of Inspiration, and that's when you got it. Which was already, like, you're having to wait a while for that feature. This has moved it back even more. Why? Just why? It just hurts that, like, Bardic Inspiration was already, like, not great at low levels. Because, albeit it's better, because it's a reaction and not you give it to someone and then they can use it. Which I definitely approve of that change. That's definitely for the better. But Font of Bardic Inspiration being moved back, no. Just no. My suggestion would be Expertise moves to 1st level. Jack of all trades moves to 2nd level. or, well, back to where it was. Either that or move it to 3rd level. And then Font of Bardic Inspiration is 5th level again. Or, better yet, move it to 3rd. It does not belong at 7th. And what I mean by Font of Bardic Inspiration is just this part. The short rest. Either that or just make it baseline. It comes back on a short rest, but this at 7th level, no. However, there is a fun part of it that does kind of belong at this level. In addition, if a creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration die and gets a 1 after any rerolls, that use of Bardic Inspiration isn't expended. I like this one. I think this is actually pretty cool. So it's like, oh, you rolled to heal someone 1 hit point. Oh, crap. Oh, well, I get my point refunded. That's good. That's definitely welcome, as, like, you get the worst result, you get it back. Now, this can lead to infinite Bardic Inspiration, but it's from rolling a 1, so that's not a big problem. So I definitely approve of that as well. And I think it could be with maybe a bit, like, something extra tossed in. For a 7th level feature, I think it'd be fine. 8th level, you get a feat. 9th, you get your 2nd expertise, which I believe it's actually moved. Yeah, it's moved 1 level forward. So you get it at 9th instead of 10th. 10th, subclass feature. 11th, Magical Secrets is back. It's been moved back a level, actually, which is a slight problem, actually, because so basically you get to choose a spell list, and it can be any spell list too. You can choose up to 2 spells up to 2 spells you prepare can be from the chosen list and from any school magic. So do note, Magical Secrets has been nerfed heavily. You no longer get extra spells. It's just, oh yeah, you can prepare 2 spells from any 2 spells from a certain school. No restrictions apply. So it's still powerful, but it's maybe not as powerful, yet still quite good, actually. 12th, feat. 14th, subclass feature. 15th, further magical secrets. Basically, you choose a 2nd list. Works like magical secrets. So basically, you get 2 extra schools. So you could choose Divine and Primal. Would probably be the main choices. So you can get any spells you want, just about. Because Arcane, you don't get as much from it, honestly. 16th level, you get a feat. 18th is Superior Bardic Inspiration, which is just Superior Inspiration. When you roll initiative, you regain 2 Bardic Inspiration uses. Do note, this has actually been buffed. Used to be when you had none left. Now, every time you roll initiative, you get 2 extra. So basically, you can just use 2 and then not worry about it. 19th is a feat. 20th, Epic Boon. So, Epic Boon feats are basically 20th level feats. That's all they are. You're going to ignore this because, honestly, I don't care. Bard subclasses, College of Lore. So, quick note, subclasses get 4 features now, which I definitely approve because it's just 3. Yeah, it's stupid. I'll be honest. Though I do wish they had, like, 6 instead, and you got 2 more. But, it is what it is. But, bonus proficiencies. You gain 3 skill proficiencies. By default, it's Arcana, History, and Nature. If you already have 1 or more, you instead gain a different skill. So if you have all 3 already, then you get 3 skills of your choice. If you only had Arcana, though, you get History and Nature, plus any 1 skill of your choice. Third level, you also get Cutting Words, which is cutting words. It's pretty much the same. And it's basically the inverse of your normal Bardic Inspiration use, where as a reaction you lower a roll with your Bardic Inspiration die. Instead, 6th level Cutting Inspiration. Whenever you roll your Bardic Inspiration, you roll twice and use the higher of the rolls. So, yeah, that kind of makes this look a little worse. Albeit, if you get a 1 and a 2, you might actually be like, yeah, I'm not going to end up getting that. And it's not going to help much. You can just use the 1 and regain it, I guess. But, it is what it is. It has its uses. 10th level improved Cutting Words. So, whenever you use Cutting Words on a creature, you deal psychic damage equal to the result plus your Charisma modifier. That's a fun one, actually. That's... yeah. Though it still has the same problem as it does with Peerless Skill, where... so, whenever you make an ability check and fail, you can use Bardic Inspiration to add it to the roll. But if the check fails, you don't expend the inspiration. It's only expended if it works. So, Peerless Skill still kind of has the problem of it's an alternate use when you already have an amazing one in improved Cutting Words. Like, this is too much fun. I'll be honest. Cutting Words, it's amazing now, especially with the improved version. Because having, like, once you hit the D12 and you're rolling that with advantage, it's like, okay, yeah, you're dealing 1 to 12 that's in some ways effectively 2 to 12 damage, plus your Charisma modifier, which is basically 6 to 17 damage. Each time you Cutting Words someone, potentially making their attacks miss. Yes, please. I may not like bards, but this is definitely cool. And College of Lore definitely looks way cooler than it did. Even if additional magic secrets has been cut. But honestly, this is definitely cool for what it is. I still kind of like the idea I went with it, where it's like you get even more magical stuff. But, tis what it is. But Bard overall, I'll say, it's got some troubles, but what I'll say is the only big change that needs to be made is that Font of Bardic Inspiration needs to be moved. Like, the Regain with a Short Rest needs to be moved forward in the class, as having it at 7th level really hurts them. Other than that, and Expertise should also be moved up, but that's just because everyone else gets it at first. So, yeah. It's the only one that doesn't start with it, so that's why I say it should be moved forward. But anyway, and also the other big problem isn't technically a Bard problem. It's a problem with the spell lists in general that has led to this issue. So that is another entire discussion, though. Ranger, my favorite. Class group expert, primary ability, Dex or Wisdom. Oh, this is my baby. My lovely, lovely baby. So, starting HP, it's the same as it was, D10 per level. For hit dice, start with 10 plus con mod HP, get D10 or plus 6 plus your Constitution modifier to start with. Proficiencies. It's technically the same as it was before, but it's saying that, oh, the defaults are Athletics, stealth, and survival. Where the hell is perception? Like, screw having stealth. Perception's way more important. I'm sorry. But I think it's literally the same. Like, choose 3. Animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. Though you'll probably never pick investigation. Because honestly, that one's useless. It's there for flavor reasons, but it doesn't need to be there. Your saving throws are strength and dex. Same as before. Though I will say that strength should be a primary ability. It should be strength or dex and then wisdom. But, I mean, I always use dex anyway. You also get simple and martial weapons. Same as before. No tools, sadly. Though I think cartographer's kit could be added there. You get light armor, medium armor, and shield still. So, same as it was before. Starting equipment. You get a scimitar and a short sword. That is the funniest thing, honestly. Like, why? I like having the matching ones. They're more fun. So, and then all this, it's like, it is what it is. Class features. Expertise. It's what you had before. Also, no. No, these are not the two you choose. Perception and something else. Not stealth survival. I don't know why they're saying that. Perception is so much more important. Because perception expertise. How can you not take that? Seriously. But, favorite enemy. You always have the Hunter's Mark spell prepared. Doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare. And you don't have to concentrate on the spell once you cast it. Awesome. Screw the Tasha's version. This is a good step in the right direction. Terrible step to not keep it has separate uses. So a while back, there was an Unearthed Arcana that gave us Favored Foe. And basically, it worked similar to this, except it also said you can use it whiz times per day without a spell slot. It was perfect. Bring that back, please. And don't bring the proficiency bonus uses. Screw that. Make it wisdom based. It was perfect. There was no need. Like, and I will also say, prof uses per day would be better. Because right now it still uses your spell slots, which I hate. Also, yes! You're a prepared caster as a ranger now. And you work like this. Which is basically, you work the same as you did before. It's just you're prepared instead of learned. And you get cantrips. You get your second one at 3rd level. But still, you have cantrips. That's a change that I actually kind of welcome. Because it's just cool to have, really. I think you're supposed to have an extra spell prepared. Yeah, they're definitely supposed to have an extra. They say Cure Wounds, Guidance, Hunter's Mark, and Thorn Whip. They're missing one. But anyway. Spellcasting. So. You have the primal spell list. Now, before you go celebrating, keep in mind, you can't prepare evocation spells. Yeah, this is slightly problematic. And, of course, long rest, you can change the spells you have prepared. It's prepared spells. Use your wisdom, and you can use your druidic focus as a spellcasting focus for ranger spells. Pretty much what you'd expect. So fighting style. So fighting styles are now feats. So you can choose from archery, defense, or two-weapon fighting. You've lost dueling, actually, which is kind of a shame. That one's cool. But also, this has another thing. When you gain a feat at later levels, fighting style feats are among your options, even though you aren't a member of the warrior group. So, yeah. So, warriors get access to fighting styles, and I believe ranger and paladin are both going to have access to these feats, despite not normally getting fighting styles with their group, since they aren't warriors. This is definitely an interesting change. I will also note that you don't get spell casting at second level. It's now at first, which is another thing that I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with this. Not what I'd have done, but it's still cool. Also wouldn't have bad at cantrips, but it's still nice. But yeah, that's all you get at second level now. It's weird, but it's what it is. Third level, you get your ranger subclass. Fine with this. There's no primeval awareness or primal awareness, actually. So I'll be honest in saying that I'm fine with this. Primal awareness, like primeval awareness was like, it was kind of weird. Primal awareness, it had some problems, but specifically with its second level spell, Tasha's, because screw beast sense, it freaking sucks. But not having it here, it's fine. The reason you had it before was that there was a lot of cool utility spells that you just couldn't use because you're a learned caster. So having it now be the option where you're prepared, I think it's fine. You don't need it anymore. The purpose it served is gone. So, you know, it's like you don't need it to be fixed anymore. So, yeah. Fourth level, you get a feat. Whoop-de-doo. Fifth level, extra attack. It's still extra attack. What did you expect? Sixth level, subclass feature. I think... yeah, that's actually a level earlier. Seventh level is roving, which I believe is a level later now, actually. Speed is increased by 10 feet if you aren't wearing heavy armor. And you have a climb speed and swim speed equal to your speed. So you can climb and swim freely. Also note, this is not affected by heavy armor. If you are multiclassing into fighter or paladin, you still get the climb and swim speeds. 8th level's a feat. 9th, expertise. Again, it's expertise. And I also definitely like the idea of having expertise instead of canny. As cool as canny was, giving you the extra languages, you don't need more as much. It's fine. 10th level, subclass feature. Which I believe, again, they moved it earlier. 11th level is now where Tireless is. Because they basically changed Roving and Tireless to be a level later while moving subclass features a level earlier. Tireless, it's now... you get temporary hit points every short or long rest. It's D8 plus prof. Rather it be D8 plus wisdom, but oh well. It is what it is. And if you're exhausted when you finish short rest, decrease it by 1. That's cool. It's neat. 12th level is a feat. 13th is Nature's Veil, which is a level earlier than it was. And it's now expend a spell slot instead of having its own uses. Once again, not a fan of this. I would rather it have its own uses. But, I mean, I guess it's fair that it can use spell slots, so it's not as spammable. But I will say that it's kind of a shame that it doesn't get benefits from being upcast. So, having it be like what it is, it's 14th, subclass feature. 15th, Feral Senses. Blind sight with a range of 30 feet. And I believe that's actually... yeah, it's actually moved over. They've changed some stuff around. But Feral Senses is definitely kind of interesting. Because that's been moved way down, actually. It used to be 18th level. But it's fair. It's also been kind of changed how it works, but it's more like, yeah, let's just call it Blind Sight. 16th level, it's a feat. 18th, Foe Slayer. Hunter's Mark adds D10 damage instead of D6. That's a cool one. So, personally, I would have made it where there's also, like, in the middle, it becomes a D8. I think that would be nice to have, where, like, maybe, let's say, 10th or 11th. Let's go 10th, because it's a level earlier. Make it a D8. Level 19, feat. 20, Epic Boon. Not the biggest fan of the Epic Boon at the end, because it's kind of like, after 18th level, your class doesn't matter as much. So, yeah, I'd rather have a class, or better yet, subclass feature at 20th level. That's like your big subclass thing. So it's like your class matters at the end. Maybe in addition to the Epic Boon, or move the Epic Boon to 19th. But, So, the Hunter. What have they done to my baby? So, yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room. They gutted the hell out of the choices on this one. Yeah, I kind of get what the reasoning they mentioned, which is basically there was one choice that you just always took without fail. Like, 3rd level, you almost always took Colossus Slayer unless you wanted Horde Breaker. Giant Killer, yeah, it wasn't that good anyway. But, and then 14th level, yeah, Uncanny Dodge is arguably the best of them. Though Evasion was also good. Stand Against the Tide, But, interestingly, they actually integrated that into it. So it's kind of a mix between Uncanny Dodge and Stand Against the Tide. Where you get Uncanny Dodge, but it does what Stand Against the Tide also did. Where you direct the damage to... where you can direct the damage to other creatures nearby. However, you don't have defensive tactics anymore. Granted, none of them were that good. And Hunter's Lore is definitely cool, where it's like, oh yeah, while Hunter's Mark is active, you know the immunities, resistances, and vulnerable creatures the target has. That is cool. I like it. 10th level, multi-attack. I like that they've made Conjure Barrage an always prepared spell. I think that's neat. It's a spell I normally don't take, but it's neat that they're going for this. Though it is weird that they've also allowed you to downcast it. Yeah, that's right. You can downcast this spell. You can cast it with a first or second level spell slot and reduce the damage by D8. Keep in mind, it starts at 3d8, so yeah. Dropping it down to 1d8 at first level. Yeah. At least it's a 60-foot cone. I kind of hope they up the damage by 1d8 to compensate. I think that would be good. Like, make it 48 base, but then it goes down to 2d8. Yeah, I think that'd be fine. But, big problem. Poor dual-wielding rangers. I mean, then again, melee rangers have always kind of been neglected in comparison to archers, but this is a whole other level where I'm just like, yeah, this is cool from the perspective of an archer ranger main, but I feel bad for the dual wielding. Like, part of the reason, and this one I'll definitely say, like, I kind of get why they changed how Hunter worked. It's sad to see the other options go, but the multi-attack, I think, at least changing it to where there is a choice of which one, and maybe make it where it's also like you prepare one or the other, and it's like you get an extra spell prepared, but it has to be one or the other. I think that would be cool, where like they add in a new third level spell that's just this whirlwind attack that can be used instead of Conjure Barrage for melee rangers. I think that would make it very good and would fix the problems that I have with it right now. Haven't seen Beastmaster yet. That's going to be fun. Rogue. So this class, yeah. Dexterity is your main stat, of course. Sneak attack progresses the same as it did before. Nothing different there. Hit die, still D8. Still get 8 plus con mod at first level. D8 or 5 plus con mod each level after. Same as before. Saving throws, still dex and int. So, yeah, nothing new there. Skills, they suggest acrobatics, investigation, sleight of hand, and stealth. You still get to choose 4 from, though it's actually, choose 4 from acrobatics, athletics, deception, insight, intimidation, investigation, perception, persuasion, sleight of hand, and stealth. Exact same as it was before. Though actually they removed performance. Huh. Yeah. The more you know. So, as a quick aside though, weapon proficiencies. Simple weapons and martial weapons with the finesse property. So you've gained scimitars, but lost the hand crossbow and longsword. But longsword, did any rogues ever want to use that? Because honestly, there was no point to having it anyway. So, has anything really changed? The main loss is hand crossbow. Thieves' Tools is a tool. Of course, you still get it. I also get light armor. Oh, I just noticed that starting gold is different per class. I didn't notice that before. It's 150 as a ranger, 110 as a rogue. Yeah, that's fine. What's not fine is the starting equipment change. I don't like that. I preferred the old system, where it's like choices. So, rogue. First level, you still get expertise. Same as was. But keep in mind, this does not include tools. I think tools are technically... They replace a skill. So, Sleight of Hand and Stealth are the suggested ones. In Sleight of Hand, basically, it's how you use Thieves' tools. It's weird. I know. First level, Sneak Attack. Works as it did before. Attack with Finesse or ranged weapon, and either have advantage or an ally adjacent to the target. You get to do sneak attack damage. First level, you also get Thieves' Cant. So second level, Cunning Action. Bonus action, you dash, disengage, or hide. Simple as that. Third level, Rogue Subclass. Similar to what it was before, but keep in mind one big thing. You are losing Cunning Aim, or whatever it was called. Mostly because that was kind of powerful with anyone using ranged weapons, so yeah. Honestly, not going to be missed too much. It was amazing to have, but yeah, it's kind of fair. Fourth level, you get a feat. Fifth level, Uncanny Dodge. It's Uncanny Dodge. It's the same as it was before. Sixth level, subclass feature. Seventh, Expertise. This got moved back one level because you used to get it at sixth. Eighth level is going to be a feat. Ninth level is now Evasion. It used to be at seventh level, but now it's ninth. Which I will say, with the subclass feature being moved one later, I can kind of get this. It's kind of weird. 10th is a feat as well. And they still get frickin' extra feats. I will never like this. Ever. It's something that I just... I don't like it. Because it's sort of like you just get more than anyone else does, and it puts you a bit ahead in a way that I don't think you should. But I'll talk about that more later. 10th level, subclass feature. Let's move to level back. Albeit you get one earlier now. It's actually technically 3 earlier than you got one. 11th level is Reliable Talent, which... yeah, it's Reliable Talent. It's still kind of overpowered. I really think they should consider lowering that base number to 6. I think we'd be fine. But not 10. 12th level, Feats. It's normal. Nothing different here. 13th level, you now get a new feature, Subtle Strikes. When you attack, you know how to exploit a target's distraction. Basically, instead of just saying, oh yeah, you can, if you have an ally in 5 feet of the target that is incapacitated and don't have disadvantage, then you get to use your sneak attack. Yeah, if those conditions are met, you just have advantage now. That's definitely a cool addition. It's nice. 14th, subclass feature. It's your last one. Which kind of means they nerfed them a little bit, but at the same time, it's still cool. It's nice to have that earlier. 15th level, Slippery Mind. You get proficiency in Wisdom and Charisma saving throws. Which is definitely weird, because you used to just get Wisdom. That has been buffed significantly. Albeit Charisma saves aren't that common, but there's a few powerful ones out there. 16th is a feat. 17th is Elusive. which is a level earlier, actually. But basically, no attack roll can have advantage against you while you're on incapacitated. Same as before. Just a level earlier. 18th, Stroke of Luck. Now at 18th instead of 20th. Once per short or long rest, you can make a d20 test or d20 roll into a nat 20. Yep. Yep, that's good. You do lose the, if your attack misses, you can turn it into a hit. But this is better. Automatically turning your attack into a critical hit. Heck yeah. That's also totally not going to get broken as heck, but 19th is a feat, 20th is epic boon. Then the thief archetype, fast hands. You can search as a bonus action. You can also make a dexterity sleight of hand check to pick a lock or disarm a trap with thieves' tools or pick a pocket. That's bonus action. Kind of like what was before, actually, except search has been added. That's new. You lost use an object, though. But I think that might work different. Slightly different. Second story work. Climb speed equal to your speed. And if you take the jump action, add dexterity. You make a dexterity check instead of strength check. So instead of just adding dex, you just use dex instead of strength. Supreme Sneak. Advantage on stealth checks. Yeah, it's been buffed, actually. So it's just all the time. So, yeah. Use magic device. So it still has... So it's a bit different. So you can assume to 4 magic items at once instead of 3. That's interesting. And whenever you use a magic item property that expends charges, roll a d6, and on a 6, you don't expend the charges. That can be absurd with some magic items. Also, you can use any spell scroll that bears a cantrip or first level spell. And you can use... that's without a check, by the way. And you can use any spell scroll that contains a higher level spell, but must succeed on an Arcana check, DC 10 plus spell's level. And if you succeed, you get to cast a spell. And you use Intelligence as your spellcasting ability for this casting. And the scroll disintegrates if you fail. So basically, it's disintegrated no matter what, but it's just, did you cast the spell or not? 14th level, Thief's Reflexes. This has been nerfed into the ground. But, so it's no longer a second turn, which is fair now that it's 14th level. But, you now get a second bonus action to use on cunning action only. You get prof uses per day, but you have 2 bonus actions. That's actually kind of cool. Being able to do, like, you can double dash, or dash and disengage, or dash then hide, disengage then hide. Like, this can do all sorts of stuff, and I'm actually quite interested to see what this creates. But that's going to be some shenanigans. It's definitely a cool idea that, sure, it's nerfed, but it's definitely cool. Feats. So, ability score improvement, 4th level feat. It's ability score improvement. Now, as a quick aside, my whole critique for this is going to be the critique I've had since the start of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And I'm going to say if I ever run stuff, I'm still going to run my house rule of whenever you get a feat, you get ability score improvement. So it comes separately, and all the ability score increases from your feats don't exist. Ignore them. But ability score improvement as a feat, with the change of feats going baseline, this is fair. Makes things a lot simpler to understand. This works, I'll say. Actor. On to the actual feats. Oh, I just noticed that in Player's Handbook, actor and athlete are in the opposite order. So alert, I believe, was... So we're actually going to go over here real quick and list off the feats that showed up in here. Let's just go through the races. And... Still races, actually. There's the backgrounds and all their derpy glory. Because, yeah, I was not a fan of them. Okay, feats. So alert was a feat here. So it's not going to show up here. But actor is the first feat we have here, since alert was moved over. So feats now have prerequisites, which I think is actually fine. So actor, 13 plus charisma. And, as an aside, odd stats actually have a reason to exist now. They'll still absolutely get annoyed with you if you have them, but still, at least it's not as bad to have them. But, actor, increase charisma by 1, max 20, yada yada yada. Impersonation. While you're disguised as a fictional or real person other than yourself, you have advantage on performance checks to convince others you are that person. So you've lost deception, which is actually weird, but I guess like performance can replace it. So there's that. Mimicry. You mimic the sounds of other creatures, including speech. Must have listened for at least 1 minute. DC 15 charisma performance check for mimicry. And you'd perform it convincingly for an hour on a success. So this is actually changed to, instead of going against an enemy's insight, it's just flat DC 15. So actor, for the most part, not changed too much. It's fine. I think it's a cool feat. Like, it's a fun feat. And it always will be, like, a fun feat rather than an actually good one. But I think for what it is, actor's fine. Athlete requires strength, dex, or con, 13. ASI is going to be strength, dex, or con. Climb speed. You get a climb speed equal to your speed, which I'm pretty sure that is new. Oh, yeah. That replaces the climbing doesn't cost you extra movement, which I guess is a simpler way of saying it. Hop up. When you're prone, you can stand right up with only 5 feet of movement. Jumping. You have advantage on any ability check to jump. Simple enough. This actually is replacing the... You make a running jump with only 5 feet of movement rather than 10 feet. But it is what it is. The advantage is nice because it makes all jumps better. Charger. Which, yeah, that's here. Proficiency with any martial weapon. So you just need weapon proficiency to get it. Strength. +1 strength or dex. So basically when you take the dash action, speed increases by an additional 10 feet. And charge attack. So if you move So this did lose the make a weapon attack as a bonus action. So charge attack, if you move at least 10 feet in a straight line immediately before hitting an attack as part of the attack action on turn, choose one of the following effects. Plus 1d8 to the attack's damage roll. Push the target 10 feet. If it's no more than one size larger than you. This is once per turn. So basically, instead of a flat plus 5, it's a plus 1d8. Your dashes are longer, which, I'll be honest, is kind of weird. As it's sort of like, okay, well, I don't know. It's a nerf to the feat where you've lost the shove or melee attack as a bonus action when you dash, but Crossbow Expert. Main bonus, plus 1 dex. You just need proficiency with a martial weapon, of course. So that's definitely a welcome benefit because Gunner was just this but better. And you still get everything else, actually. You ignore loading, which that is the most straightforward ability name ever. Yeah, guess what that does? Firing in melee. Being in 5 feet doesn't impose disadvantage on attack rolls with crossbows. Though this only works with crossbows now, which is a shame. Dual wielding. Basically, you use hand crossbows as normal. So also how dual wielding works is a bit different, but basically, like, it's instead of being a bonus action, dual weapon attack is a free action when you take the attack action. But basically, you add your ability modifier to the damage roll if it's a crossbow with the light property. Simple enough. Defensive Duelist. Still only has 1 bonus. Though it now has plus 1 dexterity. It's still actually got dex 13 requirement. Oh, I forgot that actually had a dex requirement. But if you're holding a finesse weapon, yeah, and a creature hits you with a melee attack, use your action, add your proficiency bonus to your armor class. Same as it was before. No need for change. We're good. Dual Wielder. Requires proficiency with any martial weapon. Add plus 1 dex or strength. You did lose the AC buff, sadly. But you're holding a weapon with light property in one hand. You can treat a non-light weapon in your other hand as if it had the light property. So basically, this is actually kind of nerfed from what it was. So you can't just dual wield any two one-handed weapons now. You have to have 1 light weapon. So this has been nerfed. But you still have quick draw. You can draw or stow 2 weapons that lack 2-handed property when normally able to draw or stow 1. Simple enough. Durable. Dungeon Delver actually was the next one. Though I think that vanished. Yeah. Dungeon Delver is nowhere to be seen. It's kind of a weird one, honestly, so yeah. Durable. Requires 13 con. Plus 1 to con, of course. Advantage on death saves. Which, that's a new one that is definitely welcome. And then Speedy Recovery. That's honestly kind of powerful. As a bonus action, you can expend one of your hit dice, roll it, and regain that much HP. I'm going to be honest, this is powerful as hell. Having this as a bonus action? My lord, is this absurd. So yeah, this is replacing the whenever you roll hit dice, add twice your con. This is just... what is this? This is... I think this might be a bit too powerful. If it was an action, I would be like, okay, that's cool, but having it as a bonus action? My lord, is that crazy. And also, welcome to the feat that makes all tanks absurd. Just... why? This better be changed to a standard action if it's going to stay that way. I suspect to see that changed. I'll be honest. So up next we have Elemental Adept. So you have to have spellcasting or pact magic. And it is repeatable. But you have to choose a different type. I think only a few of these are repeatable. ASI was, but it's ASI. Nothing else has been repeatable yet, so this is our second one. Now you add +1 int, whiz, or charisma, i.e. your spellcasting stat. And choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. Ignore resistance to damage of that type. And when you roll 1 on one of the to deal that damage type, treat it as a 2. Simple enough. Now we have the epic boons. So yeah, these are 20th level feats. Pretty much everything else so far has been 4th level. These are 20th. And this also means you can no longer start with stuff like Sharpshooter and Spell Sniper, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but well. So first we have Combat Prowess. Expert or Warrior. When you miss with a melee attack, you can hit instead. Can't use it again until you roll initiative. So yeah, that's a neat one. Epic boon of Dimensional Travel. Expert or Mage. You can cast Misty Step without expending a spell slot, and you must finish a short or long rest, or roll initiative. So this one, it's not combat only, so I kind of get why they've made that change. Boon of Energy Resistance. You have resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, necrotic poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder damage. And when you finish a short or long rest, you can meditate and change the damage type. So that changing part is powerful. The resistance at 20th level, not the best, but the ability to change it, that's powerful. Epic Boon of Fortitude. Your HP max increases by 40. Whenever you regain hit points, you regain additional HP equal to your con mod. And you regain this additional HP no more than once per round. So no, you cannot stack clerics and get 1,000,000 freaking hit points because of your con mod. No. Which is fair, actually, but the HP max is crazy. Since it's basically like double the bonus in tough. Which I think tough was in here, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. So yeah, it's like you have a second instance of tough on your character. Which is absurd if you think about it. Then we have Irresistible Offense. Expert Warrior. Damage you deal always ignores resistance. Honestly, this could be on anyone. I'll be blunt. This is not weapon damage. This is any damage. I really want this on Storm Sorcerer. Like, Sorcerers would love this, where it's like, oh yeah, I always ignore the damage resistance. Then again, you do have Elemental Adept, but honestly, that'd be cool to have too. Epic Boon of Luck. Expert only. Finally one that just experts get. Immediately after rolling it d20, you can roll a d10 and add the number rolled. Can't do it again until you roll initiative or finish a short or long rest. So basically it's like an extra bardic inspiration in a way. It's nice. Epic Boon of the Night Spirit, Expert or Mage. While in dim light or darkness, you can become invisible as an action. And you remain invisible until you take an action or reaction. Note, that does not say move or use a bonus action. So you can actually Hunter's Mark while invisible and all sorts of other shenanigans. Peerless Aim, Expert or Warrior. When you make a ranged attack against target and miss, you can cause it to hit instead. Can't use again until you roll initiative. Basically combat prowess, but ranged. Which, I'll be honest, I don't know if it would be... I'd say, like... Now, once again, this could be useful on casters as well. On priests and mages. So... I think maybe this should be changed to no prerequisite. And I'd even say, like, you could do the same for combat prowess, since these don't specify weapon. They don't say weapon, so I think maybe just, like, Epic Boon of Peerless Aim, no prerequisites. When you miss with an attack, you can make it hit instead. Can't use it again until you roll initiative. And just have one universal one. I don't think that'd be too powerful. I think. I don't know. Epic Boon of Recovery. You can use a bonus action to regain half your HP. Can't do it again until you finish a long rest. And in addition, you succeed on any death save that isn't a 1. So, yeah. That's actually powerful. It's like, so much for dying. Epic Boon is skill proficiency. You're proficient in all skills. Okay. So be it. Epic Boon is speed. Expert or warrior. Your speed increases by 30 feet. As if monks needed to have access to that. Because assuming they keep their normal speed. Let's see how absurd is that? That's... Like, let's say you just start with the default 30. So that's 60. Plus an additional 30. That's 90-foot movement speed. With just Monk, the base 30, and Epic Boon of Speed. That's not even considering one of the other feats that's here. Yeah, that's crazy. Epic Boon of Undetectability. Expert only. It can't be seen or heard by any means, magical or non-magical, while you're hidden. So, yeah, when you hide, ain't nobody finding you. And also, you're no longer allowed to play hide and seek because you just automatically win. Epic Boon of the Unfettered Expert or Warrior. As a bonus action, you take the disengaged action, which also ends the grappled and restrained conditions on you. Screw enemy spellcasters and their hold persons. So yeah, that's definitely a good one. So now we get to the fighting styles, which are now feats. And I believe none of them have actually changed. Except protection. So, instead of imposing disadvantage as a reaction, you now just give a -2 penalty. I think that might have to be changed to not just a flat -2, because the -2 flat, not a fan. Because it's sort of like you're just... Like, it really hurts it a lot, because one of the benefits... Like, -2, you're not going to get a lot of use out of protection style then. And also note these are all warrior group only, technically. Paladins and rangers will also get them, probably. But then we have Grappler, which now adds... it's now Strength or Dex 13, and increases Strength or Dex. You have advantage on attack rolls against creatures grappled by you. So, same as before. You aren't slowed when you move a creature grappled by you, provided it's your size or smaller. So that's actually a nice one. So you move faster while grappling people. Punch and grab. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike as part of the attack action on your turn, you deal damage and also grapple it. You can use this benefit only once per turn. Monk just got... Monk says hello. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how Monk interacts with this. Though you can't restrain yourself on the target anymore, but it is what it is. Great Weapon Master just requires proficiency with any martial weapon. Increase strength by 1. Not like there's any dexterity ones out there, so fine. So, you have Cleave. Immediately after you score a crit or reduce a creature to 0 HP, with a melee weapon, you can make attack with the same weapon as bonus action. Pretty much the same as before. When you hit with a heavy weapon as part of the attack action on your turn, you can add plus prof to the damage. So, definitely a nerf from the previous incarnation. That's also a buff somehow. So, basically, instead of giving just a -5 to attack roll for a +10 damage, instead, when you hit, you can just do plus prof damage once per turn. Which, yeah, I'll actually say that's a buff. It's definitely a buff, even though it doesn't do as absurd of damage. The fact that you can always do it is something. Heavily Armored. Requires medium armor training. And increase con or strength by 1. Get heavy armor. So basically, you now add con instead, which is fair if you already had the strength you needed. But, yeah, as an aside, though, Healer, that also got moved to first level, was shown here. So Battle Medic, if you have a Healer's Kit, you expend 1 use and tend to a creature within 5 feet as an action. Spend 1 hit dice, and it regains the number rolled plus your proficiency bonus, and you can reroll a 1 when you restore hit points with a spell or Battle Medic, which I believe was changed as yeah, they removed the stabilized stuff and then it made the, like, when you heal people, now based on their hit dice and no longer scale with their number of hit dice, or aka level. But, yeah, it's fine. Heavy Armor Master requires heavy armor training. +1 to strength or con. So once again, like heavily armored, it's added con to the stats you boost. Also, the damage reduction has been buffed from just a flat -3 to minus your proficiency bonus. So yeah, that's definitely going to reduce a lot of damage. So now it scales. And it's bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing, as it was before. So yeah, it's definitely... and they've also removed non-magical. So it's all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Screw you, demons, and your magical weapons. Ha ha! And then we have Inspiring Leader, which is Wisdom or Charisma plus 13 plus. And it's +1 to Wisdom or Charisma now. And its main ability no longer keys off Charisma, which I think is fine because it's available to Druid and Cleric now, who are classes who would want this as well. So I kind of approve the Wisdom edition because it makes sense for them. At the end of a short or long rest, you can give Inspiring Performance, Speech, or Song up to 6 friendly creatures, which can be yourself, within 30 feet. Witnessed it. Each gain temperature points equal to 2d4 plus your proficiency bonus. So it's no longer your level. It's now 2d4 plus proficiency, which is fair because adding your level is just absurd. Keen Mind requires intelligence 13 plus and isn't absolute garbage that should never be taken. Rosa. For reference, Rosa, my friend, who you may or may not remember from this channel and other stuff, yeah, she loves taking this feat for some ungodly reason. Now, at least, she has a reason to actually use it. So, instead of you always know which way is north, you know how many hours are left in the day and recall anything you've seen or heard in a month. Instead, it's some actually useful stuff. To the game. Increase your int by 1 still. But you can also get proficiency in Arcana, History, Investigation, Nature, or Religion. If you already have proficiency in it, you gain expertise instead. That might be a bit powerful. Because investigation expertise is definitely good. The others, maybe not as much, but also, you can study as a bonus action. Which, study, I think, I'm pretty darn sure it's a new thing. But it's basically like you make a knowledge check on something. First level is lightly armored, which is actually here. It does not and it's first level feat actually. And you gain light armor, medium armor, and shield proficiency. Yeah, I'm just gonna say now. Not the biggest fan. Or, I'll straight up say it. This is a hard nope. This feat is overpowered. Yeah, let's just say that Wizard and Sorcerer and Wizard taking this is absolutely absurd. You get light armor, medium armor, and frickin' shields for one first level feat that you can get with generic background? What the hell? This definitely needs to be changed. Just no. No. Remove medium armor and shields. That is a mistake. And then Linguist and Lucky, they are over here. Linguist doesn't even show up because it's not the best. Lucky, at least, does not belong at this level, honestly. So you get prof bonus luck points. You can spend a luck point to get advantage on a d20 roll. And when an attack roll is made against you, you can use a luck point to impose disadvantage. So instead of just 3, which I think it's... Yeah, it's pretty much the same as it was otherwise. You just get proficiency bonus uses. That, I don't think, belongs at first level. I'll be honest. Then we have Mage Slayer. Proficiency with any martial weapon. Strength or Dex +1. When you damage a creature that's concentrating, has disadvantage on the concentration check. Or it's actually a saving throw now. I don't think it was a saving throw. Might have been, actually. I think they were. Yeah, they were saving throws, weren't they? I always forget. Guard Mind. Fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw. You can cause yourself to succeed instead. Once used, can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So this replaces the advantage. So you no longer get the opportunity to attack against spellcasters, which kind of takes away from the Mage Slayer thing. And then also, it removes the advantage on spells cast in 5 feet of you. Then again, choosing to succeed instead against any spell, against any save, that can be a godsend. So this is definitely good. Guard in Mind is definitely good, though the reaction attack will be missed. Medium Armor Master. Because Magic Initiate and Martial Adept, I believe, as well? Or no, it wasn't here. Okay. Yeah. But Magic Initiate's here. This actually uses the spell list in a good way, but as a feat, it's kind of different. But basically, you get 2 cantrips of your choice from spell list. You get a first level spell choice from the spell list once per day. And you can use Int, Wisdom, or Charisma. So it's no longer, the stat isn't no longer based on it, but though it's actually repeatable. Which I think the old one wasn't technically. But yeah. So that's where those went. Medium Armor Master. Increase strength or dex by 1. Requires medium armor training, of course. And while wearing medium armor, you add 3 rather than 2 to your AC if your dex is 16 or higher. So basically a long way of saying, yeah, the dex cap is 3 instead of 2. You did lose the doesn't impose disadvantage on stealth checks. That's a shame that they replaced it with the stat boost. Mounted Combatant. Because Moderately Armored is over here now for some ungodly reason. And then Mobile got renamed. But Mounted Combatant, you get +1 Strength, Dex, or Wisdom. You get advantage on animal handling checks to handle and train basically any type of mount. Which is actually a neat bonus to add. Mounted Strike. While mounted, you have advantage on attack rolls against any creature in 5 feet of your mount that's at least 1 size smaller than it. Which I believe is how it worked before. Yeah. Albeit you've lost the reach stuff. But then again, didn't come up often anyway, so who cares? So, while mounted, you can use your reaction to force an attack that hits your mount to hit you instead. Which I think is... Yeah, that now takes a reaction. Rest in peace, Cavaliers. That hurts. Then you have Leap Aside. Mount is subjected to a dex save, takes half damage. Takes no damage if it succeeds, half damage if it fails. So basically it's otherwise what it was before, except with the mount handler stuff added in and the stat boost added. So it's definitely been buffed, though Veer is a heavy nerf from what you had before. Observance. So increase int or whiz by 1. Requires int or whiz 13, of course. So choose insight, investigation, or perception. If you lack proficiency, you gain proficiency. Otherwise, you gain expertise. And this is replacing the +5 to passive wisdom, passive perception, and investigation checks. The insight bonus is nice. Which I actually definitely kind of like this idea, because the +5 to passive, making it stack with expertise is absurd. As it's sort of like my friend still over on the Subda server, whenever they're in the game, it's like their characters, they're just existing. And it's just like, oh, your enemies are trying to stealth? Okay, they have to beat a passive 25. It's like, what the hell is this? It's like, oh, you're trying to be stealthy? Haha, ignore that. Then you have quick search. Search action is bonus action, so that's definitely neat, like perception stuff. Polearm Master. Increase strength by 1. Prowess proficiency any martial weapon, which makes sense. So, Pole Strike. After taking attack action with the weapon as the heavy and reach properties, make a bonus action attack with the opposite end, which is a D4 bludgeoning attack. So rip using that with a staff. That's a shame. Being able to use it with a staff was kind of cool, because it made Shillelagh builds kind of funny. But yeah. Then you have Reactive Strike. While you're holding a heavy weapon that has heavy and reach properties, use your reaction to make a melee attack against one creature that enters your reach, the reach you have with that weapon. So, yeah. Kind of like, basically it's sort of like it was before, but remove the quarterstaff, basically. Then we have Resilient. So, basically you choose an ability score you don't have the save proficiency for. Increase that by 1. You gain proficiency with that type of saving throw. Pretty much what it was before. Simple enough. Ritual Caster. Int Wizard Charisma 13 required. Increase that score by 1. And choose two first level spells with the ritual tag from the Arcane Diviner Primal spell list. Always have them prepared, and you can cast them with any spell slots you have. And the ability for these spells is the same as the one increased. So it's not unlike it was before. So it's kind of changed up a bit, where you basically just have 2 extra spells. Because all spellcasters can now have, they just always do ritual casting if they want, so long as the spell has the ritual tag, they can cast it as a ritual. But with Ritual Caster, it also has an extra benefit, which is you can cast 1 ritual with its regular casting time instead of the ritual time, once per day. So, basically once per day you get to quick cast a ritual, which is definitely cool. Especially for Detect Magic. That one's going to be awesome. But, yeah, you don't get to learn extra rituals, though, which is kind of a shame, but oh well. Savage Attacker was actually over here for some reason. Basically, when you make a melee attack, you can roll damage twice. Use either roll. There was only once per turn. Which, yeah, that definitely limits it on some classes. Looking at you, Monk. But then, Sentinel. Now it adds +1 to strength or dex. Requires martial weapon proficiency, though. So, Sorry, clerics. You can't just get this for free anymore. Halt. Hit a creature with an opportunity attack. Their speed is 0 for the rest of the turn. Same as before. And basically the other two features where you get to make opportunity attacks if an enemy disengages or they make an attack against someone other than you. Or actually it's hit someone other than you. You now get to make an opportunity attack against them. So simple, but it's neat. It's pretty much what it was before. Except the reaction to attacks is now after the hit, not on the attack. Sharpshooter. Proficiency with any martial weapon. Increase dex by 1. Thank you. Bypass cover. Ranged attacks with weapons. Ignore half cover and 3/4 cover. Still love it. Long shots. Attacking at long range doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged attack rolls with weapons. Still love it. Firing in melee. Being in 5 feet of an enemy doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged attack rolls with weapons. So, as I kind of understand removing the -5 for +10 attack roll for +10 damage, because that's very powerful. I will miss it, but having just a straight up better version of what Crossbow Expert gives, that's, yeah, I'm going to say now that I'm not the biggest fan of this. I feel like either they need to change what Crossbow Expert gives and give it something else, or change this back to something more like what you used to have with Sharpshooter, where you get the attack roll penalty for damage roll boost, or something like that. One of the features needs to change, but yeah, other than that, minor nitpick with Crossbow Expert, this is fine. And it's more like that the only problem is how it works with Crossbow Expert is my problem. Nothing with the feat itself. Shield Master requires shield training, of course. Strength or Dex +1. Or actually, no, it's just Strength +1. I don't know why I thought that was or Dex. I derped. So I think you actually lost a feature. But if you're subjected to an effect that allows you to make a Dex save, take only half damage. Use your reaction, take no damage on a success. And a wielding shield. So I think this is... that's actually the same as it was. But you do lose the shield bonus to Dex saves. Which, kind of fair. You still get the shield bash, though, where if you attack a creature in 5 feet, it's part of the attack action, hit with the melee weapon, bash target with your shield, must make a strength save, 8+ with DC equal to 8 plus prof bonus plus strength mod, failed save, knock prone, or push it 5 feet away, choose which. Kind of what it was before, albeit it's now, actually it's not, it's now a free action actually, so it doesn't use your bonus action. And it's no longer just shove. I think it's pretty much the same, though. Because I think shove was knock prone or push 5 feet, so... kind of does what it did before, but slightly different. Skilled. It's over here. It's not changed. You still get three skill proficiencies. Skulker. Requires Dex 13+. +1 Dex. Blind sight to 10 feet. which I believe is actually new. Yeah. So that actually replaces the you ignore the dim light disadvantage. Fog of War, splitting advantage on any stealth check as part of the hide action during combat. In Sniper, if you make an attack roll while hidden and the roll misses, doesn't end the hidden condition. Yeah. So, slight upgrade in that it can work with melee attacks, not just ranged. Albeit ranged is going to be more useful. And this, I'm slightly annoyed by the during combat, but it's still powerful. It replaces the Unhide when lightly obscured, though, sadly, but oh well. Speedster. This is just mobile renamed. Let's preface this with that. Dex Arcana 13+. Increase Dex Arcana by 1. Speed increases by 10 feet while you aren't wearing heavy armor. So, yeah, that's been nerfed. Rip Paladins and Fighters. But also, when you take the action, difficult terrain doesn't cost extra movement. You do lose the free disengage when you attack somebody, but it has been nerfed, but what it did before was kind of powerful for what... At times a bit more powerful than it should have been, but oh well. Spell Sniper. So it requires spell casting or pact magic. Increase int, wiz, or charisma by 1. Also no longer gives you an extra cantrip. That's a shame. That really is a shame. But attack roll for spells ignore half cover and 3/4 cover still. You also get casting in melee, so being in 5 feet doesn't impose disadvantage with attack roll spells, which is a welcome benefit. And then increased range. When you cast a spell that has a range of at least 10 feet that requires an attack roll, increase the range by 60 feet. So yeah, that's definitely cool. It is a shame that it's no longer doubled, but I do not mind that it's increased the range of Produce Flame to 90 feet. Because that spell's range is ridiculously short for what it should be. And I actually realized that earlier I thought this was any spell, but no, it's just attack roll spell still. Which is a darn shame. I also missed the double range, but to be fair, some spells, such as Eldritch Spear, Eldritch Blast, that gets stupid. So you can now max it 360-foot Eldritch Blasts, which is fair because the 600-foot one was ridiculous that you could do it. But yeah, that actually looking at it, because it doesn't affect other spells, I'm not as big a fan of it. But the plus 60 feet, like Druid, which is the main class that takes this feat, that's definitely good for them, minus the fact that it's required 4th level, which I don't actually like. Just preliminary, not a fan of the 4th level requirement. I like starting with it. Druid especially is going to hate this change because, yeah, unless they've made Produce Flame have a 60-foot base range, this is going to suck. Having it to wait till 4th level. And then Tavern Brawler and Tough were in here. Tough, it's still tough. Does exactly what it did before. Tavern Brawler. Unarmed Strike is now D4 plus strength damage. And when you roll a 1 for an unarmed strike, you can re-roll it, which is actually new. Shove. You hit with an unarmed attack, you also push it 5 feet away once per turn, which is definitely good for a very simple reason. And furniture as weapons. You can wield furniture as a weapon, using a great club for small or medium furniture and a club for tiny furniture. So it's not improvised weapons anymore. But basically it just turns into an actual weapon. But yeah, Monk is going to love the damage rerolls and shove. It's like Tavern Brawler. It's actually freaking useful now. Especially for freaking Monk, because shove is... The damage rerolls is just great. But up next we got Warcaster, which does the same stuff it did before, except it also now requires spellcasting or pact magic, but that's kind of what it was before, but not quite. +1 int, whiz, or charisma. Advantage on con saves to maintain concentration. The creature provokes an opportunity attack from you. You can use your reaction to cast a spell on the creature instead of the opportunity attack. It must have one action and target only that creature. Which I think means you can actually use stuff like... I think actually you could... Yeah, I think you can still actually... You could always do magic missiles and stuff like that. But then somatic components, you perform somatic components even when you have weapons or shield in one or both hands. Was that actually changed? Can you... Okay, I didn't... Could you not use somatic components if you had only one hand free? What? Okay, the one or both hands doesn't matter. It's just if you have both hands. That's what I thought. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, that wording's weird. Making me second guess my knowledge of the rules. Weapon Master. Number requisites. +1 strength or dex. And you gain a martial weapon proficiency. Which I think... This seems to imply that other classes get all simple weapons. And that this just gives you all martial weapons. So, yeah. It's still maybe not the best feat, but oh well. Spell lists. So, to talk about this with a blanket statement, the spell list idea, cool concept. It's just bad. Especially for what's happened to Bard. It's painful. Because a thing you'll notice is that several spells have changed their school of magic. So, for example, Dancing Lights is now an illusion spell instead of evocation. Because now it can be used by Bard. And this is something that... So several spells have changed schools. And a bunch of casters are using the same lists. So Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard are all using the arcane spells. Cleric and Paladin are using Divine, and then Ranger and Druid are using Primal. So this means that several spells have moved over to where they weren't previously. For example, Warlock, it's implied that they're getting a bunch of spells they didn't have before. Let's see. Acid Splash, Dancing Lights, Firebolt, Friends, or not Friends, Light, Mending, Message, Ray of Frost, Shocking Grasp, and Vicious Mockery. That's a lot of spells added. And that's not even accounting for the implication that they're going to get every other freaking spell. All of these spells are on the Warlock spell list. And their previously exclusive spells, like Armor of Agathis, Arms of Adar, Hex, etc., are now being moved over to the other arcane casters. So this has some benefits, like Vicious Mockery and Dissonant Whispers. These are two spells that I think should have been moved over to the other three already. So I'm fine with that. And I will say, some spells, it's fine. But the other big problem is that in order to fix certain problems that can arise with how the classes work, which you'll especially notice with Arcane and Primal, spells have been moved around a lot. And it's kind of weird. So, as an example already, Dancing Lights is now an illusion spell. Which, okay, that's nothing too innocuous. That's innocent. Thunderwave, now a transmutation spell. Now this is where we have to be careful. Because keep in mind that Wizard is using this spell. So, it has been removed as a spell that works with Evocation Wizard's features, which previously they worked with, and, in this case, was previously one of your more iconic spells as an evoker. At least at first level. Like, it was one of your base 3, or base 4 spells in your toolkit, alongside Burning Hands, Chromatic Orb, and Magic Missile. Of course, you do get Hellish Rebuke now, but losing Thunderwave is slightly painful, especially when it really liked working with Sculpt spells. Also, Shatter is a transmutation as well. So it also doesn't work with Sculpt spells, which is slightly unfortunate. Other changes include Blindness and Deafness being transmutation now, which is fair. Like, anything to and from Evocation is something to be worried about. Flaming Sphere is now an Evocation spell instead of Conjuration, I believe. Pretty sure it was Conjuration. Let us check. Yep, it was. And that's actually for a different reason. It has nothing to do with Bard. And then Dispel Magic in Counterspell. They're still Abjuration, which means you've just lost them as Bard. I believe they also... No, they didn't have Remove Curse. Huh. They could bestow them. But they can't even bestow them now either. Sending is now a divination spell, which, To be fair, I actually agree with that. I don't know why that was an evocation spell before. Like, how was that an evocation spell? Stone Skin is transmutation instead of abjuration, which... that I'll give a pass. It makes sense that that's transmutation. I can see an argument either way. Contingency is abjuration, which I'll also say is fair. Because it's like something happens and you reactively do something. Glibness is an enchantment, which I think that actually changed from transmutation. Which is actually fair. Because it's a manipulation spell. So it's kind of weird. Yeah, it got changed from enchantment to transmutation, which that is fair. Same as telepathy being divination now, because I think that was also evocation for some ungodly reason. Like, what? Telepathy, yeah, it was evocation. Like, how are those evocation spells? Those are at least fair, but the main issues I'm going to have are Shatter and Thunderwave. Those two should stay as evocation spells, because they make sense as evocation spells. And this is where that sort of like, you've made a change, not realizing how much of a hell it's going to be now that you've made that change. So yeah, Divine List, Cure Wounds, and Healing Word, and all those spells are now abjuration spells instead of evocation. To be fair, though, those spells get moved around so much it's absurd. There is no right place for them. I'll be honest. They've been necromancy spells, they've been conjuration, they've been evocation, they can be transmutation. Now they're abjuration. So, yeah. That one... yeah, all the healing spells being abjuration. Okay. One of these days, we'll discover, like, there will be some big argument on it. Like, that's a whole thing in and of itself. That then Hallows actually moved from evocation to abjuration. But then again, that one's kind of weird. It's like, oh yeah, and then it's like certain types of creatures can't enter the area. Okay. That sounds like abjuration, so that's fair. And Mass Heal and Powered Heal are abjuration spells now, because of course they are. And Heal was already an abjuration spell, actually. The more you know. Primal. Produce Flame is now an evocation spell. Partly because rangers aren't supposed to have evocation spells, so... yeah. I kind of get the why, and I'm fine with this one. Like, it's a damaging spell, so evocation makes sense. But... yeah, it's still kind of weird. Cure Wounds, abjuration now. It's been moved. Healing Word, abjuration. And that actually means you can cast these as ranger, which Healing Word, yeah, also rip using Cure Wounds ever. Like, I see no reason to use it ever over Healing Word. Like, why would I not use that? It's so much better to use it as a bonus action at range. Flaming Sphere is now an evocation, because rangers aren't supposed to have evocation, so that spell's getting moved. Mass Healing Word is an abjuration, now available to ranger, which is totally not gonna break some things. Stone Skin, transmutation now. it makes sense, at least. Mass Cure Wounds is Abjuration, because healing. Reincarnate is Necromancy. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Earthquake is Transmutation from Evocation, I believe. Which I can understand. It's Geomancy. You kind of move those around. They're weird. Powered Heal, Abjuration. So, yeah. It's certainly, like, one of those things where I do have some concerns, like Thunderwave and Shatter getting moved. Removing them from Evocation is definitely going to sting some for certain builds, but we'll see. And having the spell lists, cool concepts. They're just never going to work. I hate them in Pathfinder 2e, and I definitely hate them here, as it's like... Because, honestly... Is this better? Is it better that suddenly any cleric suddenly has access to Divine Favor, Searing Smite, Thunderous Smite, Wrathful Smite, etc.? Is it... And it's sort of like, it breaks down the line between classes. Especially for some that it shouldn't have been done to. Like, Bard and Warlock are going to hurt the most from this. Like, Warlock, there's a reason they didn't have them all, because they don't work like other spellcasters. Suddenly giving them the same spells, that could be a problem. And also giving a lot more overlap between a bunch of classes is just like... It's basically removing what makes those classes unique. And it's just like, okay, yeah, now you have all the same spells. Like, all the arcane casters, same spell list. Now, with Sorcerer and Wizard, at least, that's how it used to work, where you did have the same spell list. But having Bard and Warlock lumped in with them, that's problematic, in my opinion. And Bard especially, I think, it needs its own spell list again. Because having the class cut off from Abjuration, Necromancy, Evocation, and Conjuration, especially when they've also lost their support toolkit, their baseline support toolkit for healing and stuff. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to say that this isn't better. This is... I have not seen any benefits to this system at all, to the point where I'm like, did this need to change? Was there actually any problem with classes having different spell lists? The only problems were some spell lists lacked spells that they felt like they should have had, like Vicious Mockery and Dissonant Whispers moving over to Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. It's fine. It's actually a change I made, where I'm like, okay, this is no longer Bard exclusive. These are now available to other arcane casters. It's not available to Cleric or Druid, or Paladin and Ranger, but hey, it is what it is. And now we have the rules glossary. So there was a change to how ability checks worked. It's basically back to how it did work. So over here, they changed it to where all ability checks and saving throws, actually, Nat 1, auto fail. Nat 20, success, gain inspiration, etc., etc. And then critical hits, of course, are critical hits. So ability checks, no longer critical hit. You got difficulty classes. I think most of these are just the same. Yeah. Attack. Pretty sure it's the same as before. It's like... Yeah. Arson stools. They actually changed to where they're all 15 gold. So there's no longer cheaper, more expensive ones. They're just all 15. Which is fair. Bark skin got changed. So it's no longer just set the AC to 16. Instead, start each target's turns. They gain spell mod plus prof bonus. Temporary hit points. Which I believe is similar to heroism, actually. Basically, it's just a primal heroism in a way, but this is definitely, like, compared to normal bark skin, this is a great improvement. I approve. But yeah, it's basically like heroism without the remove fear. So I do have some concerns that it's just identical to heroism, but I do like it as a spell on its own. Like, on its own, love it. Considering heroism, I have concerns. Climb speeds. Okay, there's now the spider climb trait, which is basically just you walk on... You walk vertically, not just move horizontally. So, creature type, still what it is. D20 tests, ability checks, stack rolls, and save throws. Saving throws are unchanged from Player's Handbook. It's heroic inspiration now, which is just inspiration, but the name is not confusing as heck. Dash. Make a bonus move. Simple enough. Difficult terrain. So, just double the speed required to move in space. It's difficult terrain. If the space contains any of the following, it's difficult terrain. Creature that isn't tiny. So, other creatures are just, that aren't tiny at least, are difficult terrain. Furniture, the smaller, larger. Heavy snow, heavy undergrowth, ice, liquid that's between shin and waist deep. Narrow opening, size one size smaller. Pit or another gap of 2 to 5 feet. Rubble, slope of 20 degrees or more. Plus whatever the crazes your DM throws at you. Divine spells, type spell. Exhausted. No longer has the levels. So you subtract the exhaustion level from your d20 rolls. And it also lowers your spell save DCs. Which is kind of crazy, but yeah. And then long rests remove 1 level of exhaustion. Yeah, this is definitely And it's now a condition, too. So I definitely approve of this. It's like, okay, you have a cumulative penalty, and it's no longer as absurdly punishing as it was before. Still die at a certain point, but it's like you die at 10 exhaustion. Expertise is just listed here. It's expertise. Fly speed. You fall if you're incapacitated. If you have the hover, you actually stay aloft even while incapacitated or restrained. Gaming sets, same as before, just they're all 1 gold. Grappled condition, speed is 0. Disadvantage on attack rolls against any target other than the grappler. Movable, they can drag or carry you. This is not for the slowed condition while moving, though, unless you're tiny or 2 or more sizes smaller than the grappler. So, like, a large creature, I think, can do it to small creatures. Though small can still actually do this to tiny creatures, which is hilarious. Escape. While grappled, you can make a dex or strength save against the grappler's escape DC in each of your turns, ending condition on a success. Also, if the grappler is incapacitated or something moves you outside the grapple's range without using your speed. Guidance also got changed. So, it's now a reaction to an ally failing an ability check while in 30 feet of you. It's now an instant duration, no concentration, which I actually think is fine. They can roll d4, add it to the check, and once a creature rolls the die, can't benefit from the spell again until it finishes the long rest. Okay, I'm just going to be blunt. They nerfed this spell into the frickin' ground. Just this last line alone is hell. So yeah, I'm just going to say now, please change this to when you succeed on the... When it changes to a success, it can't be used again on the same creature until they finish a short or long rest. Just to make this not suck. Because it's bad. It's really bad. So, help action. Give an ally you can see advantage on an ability check with a chosen skill. It has to be one you're proficient with. Can also assist attack rolls. Distract an enemy in 5 feet. Give an ally advantage. It is what it is. Basically, heroic inspiration is gained when you roll a nat 1. And if they've done something heroic or in character, DM can also award it. They only have 1 though. And basically you can use it to give advantage on a d20 roll. Hidden. If you're hidden when you roll initiative, you have advantage on the roll. Conceal. You aren't affected by any effect that requires its target to be seen. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage, and your attack rolls have advantage. Ends immediately after any following. Makes sound louder than a whisper. Enemy finds you, make an attack roll. Or you cast a spell with a verbal component. Or you aren't heavily obscured or behind cover. So you have to be obscured behind cover to get it. Hide. Requires to be heavily obscured. 3/4 cover, total cover. And it's a flat DC 15 dex check. So, yeah, rogues are going to love that. Especially with their lovely feature that is their reliable talent. So, yeah, that's not going to be absurd at all. When you're just auto-succeeding hide checks. And on a successful check, make note of the check's total. Becomes the DC for a creature to find you with a wisdom check. So, yeah, that's... the flat DC 15 is absurd. That's not going to be broken at all. Incapacitated. Can't take actions or reactions. Lose concentration. Can't speak. And you have a disadvantage on initiative if you're incapacitated. Not that you can do anything, but it's there if you get healed. Influence. I think this is actually a new action, so you can make people do stuff. So basically, it's kind of interesting. You just try and influence people to do stuff. And basically, it's like if they're indifferent to you, then it's DC 10 to get them to do something with no risks or sacrifices. Or if there's minor risk or sacrifice, it has to be 20 on the charisma check. And I think it's... Oh. Animal handling, deception, intimidation, or persuasion. Animal handling is beasts and monstrosities only. If it's friendly to you, then DC 10 for minor risk or sacrifice. 20 for significant risk or sacrifice. And then hostile creature, DC 10, no help, but no harm. 20, does something without risk or sacrifice involved. It's neat. It's nice to have something that's kind of like, hey, here's how you do this. Which I'm fine with. Invisible condition. Can't be seen. And any equipment that you're wearing or carry also can't be seen. So it's not Minecraft, where invisibility is kind of stupid if you're wearing armor. That is... Yeah, it's definitely an improvement over Minecraft, but that's actually how it's always worked, but have to make that joke. If you're invisible when you roll initiative, you have advantage. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage only. Attack rolls have advantage. Jump. With jump action, attempt to leap more than 5 feet. Jump of 5 feet or less is difficult terrain. Which wasn't listed in difficult terrain, by the way. That'd be nice to add. When you take this action, your speed must be greater than 0. Make a DC 10 strength check. Acrobatics or athletics. Said that it has to be strength. If you don't move at least 10 feet before this action, you have disadvantage on the check. On a failed check, you leap 5 feet horizontally or vertically. On a successful check, the check's total determines the distance in feet that you can clear horizontally, or half the total if you're jumping vertically. This jump doesn't expend your movement, but the distance you clear can't exceed your speed. So, the weapon property light. When you take attack action on your turn and attack with a light weapon in one hand, you make one extra attack as part of the same action. Must be made with a different light weapon in the other hand, and you don't add your ability modifier to the extra attack's damage. You can make this extra attack only once on each of your turns. So, That's definitely cool. So, long rest. 8 hours. Sleep for 6 and 2 hours of light activity. Benefits of the rest: regain all hit points, all hit dice, and if your HP max was reduced, it's restored. If any ability score is reduced, it goes back to normal. And it's pretty much as normal. Magic is basically just an action that says cast a spell with cast time in action, or use a magic item that requires an action to be activated. And if you're casting a spell with 1 minute or longer with a casting time of more than one action, then take the magic action on each turn of that casting and maintain concentration while you do so. If it's broken, spell fails, but you don't expend the spell slot, which is definitely a good idea. Movement. Pretty much the same as before. So climbing and swimming, it's just like difficult terrain, but it stacks with it. So if you're swimming or climbing difficult terrain, then the distance is tripled. Musical instruments, same as Player's Handbook, but they're all 20 gold. Realm spells, type of spell. Ritual casting. Basically, the only change is that ritual casting feature is just part of spell casting. Nothing else is different. The search action. Make a wisdom check to discern something that isn't obvious. So if you're using insight, it's a creature's state of mind. Medicine, creature's ailment. Perception, concealed creature or object. And survival for tracks or food. The short sword is now a simple weapon instead of martial. I genuinely don't know why. I really don't know why they do that. Especially because the scimitar worked exactly the same, so is that changing too, or what? I don't get this change. This, I think, requires more knowledge than we have, but preliminary opinion is going to be, I don't know what's going on here. I don't get it. Slowed. Basically, your speed is halved. Effectively, though it's like everything's difficult terrain, but it stacks with it. So if you're in difficult terrain, then it's tripled. But if you're in difficult terrain while climbing or swimming, then yeah, that's quadrupled. Attack rolls against you have advantage while you're slowed, and you have disadvantage on dex saves, because of course you do. I think, was that changed? Nope. It's actually exactly the same. Study action, which is a new one. Make an intelligence check. Study stuff. So for investigation, you notice traps, ciphers, riddles, and gadgetry. For Arcana, it's sort of like spells, magic items, eldritch symbols, magical traditions, planes of existence, and certain creatures such as aberrations, constructs, elementals, fae, and monstrosities. History is historic events and people. Ancient civilizations, war, and certain creatures, giants and humanoids specifically. Nature, terrain, flora, weather, certain creatures such as beasts, dragons, oozes, and plants. Religion is for deities, religious hierarchies, and rites, holy symbols, cults, and certain creatures, including celestials, fiends, and undead. Swim speed, swim without penalty. Tool proficiency, you just add proficiency. Oh, that's actually really cool. Okay, so if you have proficiency in the skill that's used with a tool, then you have an advantage on the check. So that's definitely welcome. Where yeah, I didn't notice that from before, and I love that actually. It's pretty cool. So teleportation doesn't expend movement unless a rule says otherwise, and teleportation doesn't forgo opportunity attacks. So I think teleportation is pretty much relatively unchanged. Tremor sense. Doesn't count as a form of sight. You can just tell if anything's on the ground near you, or in the ground. Unarmed strike, meanwhile, 1+ strength mod damage. You can grapple. Or shove. Which is, yeah, it is push 5 feet or knock prone. You only shove, it's no more than one size larger. So, yeah. Not too much to talk about here in the expert classes, Unearthed Arcana. So, I definitely have to say, I'm interested to see what else they come up with. What I'm most interested to see is definitely going to be, for mages, Warlock. Priests is going to be Paladin, and Warriors, it's going to be Monk. Sorcerer and Wizard and Mages, not much to... I don't see much changing, but we'll see. Maybe with priests like Cleric and Druid, I don't think are going to change too much either. And with Warriors, Barbarian, and Fighter, like, not much change either. So, going on to the character origins, talked a bit about some of the stuff, but there's a few things that I skipped over. So, the feats that weren't mentioned, because these are entirely new, include Crafter, which is basically like an improved skilled, because you get 3 tool proficiencies, which actually looking at it now, this might need to be nerfed. Discount, 20% discount on non-magical items you buy. That's not going to break some games at all. No, that can't be overpowered. Oh, your fighter's going to love you for that. And paladins too. Faster crafting when you craft an item. Crafting time is reduced by 20%. That's actually cool. I think the tool proficiencies should be nerfed and also discount removed, because discount, that's too good. There's also musician, where you just get 3 musical instruments of your choice, and then you get inspiring song, which gives heroic inspiration to allies who hear the song. And you affect prof bonus allies with it, which that's actually kind of powerful. Just giving a few allies your a free use of advantage. That's powerful. Now, a few notes on the races and backgrounds and character origins, because I haven't talked about this, but yeah. Put simply, I have one major critique that needs to get out of the way now. Why the hell did they move the ability score increase from race to backgrounds? Because this is definitely where that Paizo problem comes in, where you're changing stuff that didn't need to be changed, like the spell lists. That didn't need to be changed. It was fine. It just needed, some spells needed to be moved over to other lists, and like we just needed a second like pass of the changes like Tasha's had. We didn't need the entire like spell list to change and how they worked. That wasn't necessary at all. But yeah. And this, with the ability score increase, how races worked with ability score increases was fine. It's like, okay, unless you're a human or custom lineage, it's +2 to one stat, +1 to another. You choose each one. Or it's +1 to 3 stats. Simple. Effective. It works. It's fine. Now it's moved to backgrounds for some reason, which doesn't even make sense when they've said, oh yeah, we're going to make this backwards compatible. And then also, why the hell are Dragonborn here? They were almost perfect with Tasha's. And now, breath weapon's been changed again with how the breath weapon shape works. Stop changing it. You had it right in the player's handbook. So, to summarize, it's now just a cone. It doesn't matter if you're black, blue, brass, bronze, or copper. It's a cone. And to be fair, like, and that's the one thing that they needed to change, was that it shouldn't have been in Fizzbands they changed it to where it's like, oh, if you're chromatic, it's a line breath, even though more chromatics have a cone breath. And if you're metallic, it's a cone, even though more metallics have a line breath. But yeah, that's been changed again to where everyone just has a cone. Now, I get that there's like a mechanical benefit to having one or the other, and that's fair, but I'll be blunt in saying that, yeah, I'm not a fan of how they've made it where it's like, oh yeah, you just have a cone breath. That was fine in 4th edition where Dragon Breath weapons didn't work the same way, but here, no. Get this out of here, please. They've also actually lost a feature. They used to have a second feature for what type of dragon they were. Dragonborn they were. That's gone. Which also means that it doesn't matter if you're chromatic or metallic anymore, which was a cool thing Fizzbands added. And rest in peace, you ugly gem Dragonborn. Not that you looked good, but ah well. It's a shame to see that they're just gone. Yeah, so I will actually say though, I like the addition of the Ardling race and how racial spells work. Those are cool. Now another thing I don't quite like is that the language from your race has been removed and just moved to baseline, which it's fair, but I did like the idea that your race would give you a language that made sense. Also, there's now Abyssal and Chthonic Tieflings, so they're not just Infernal. Backgrounds. So, short answer note on this. There's barely any reason to do like anything but build your background for everything except equipment. Yeah, and even then, like with the equipment, it's arguably better to have the extra 50 because you get a bunch of other stuff. So, yeah. And another thing with the ability score increase in the background, it's now made it where to get stuff backwards compatible, it's a lot more complicated. And it gets in the way of being backwards compatible. It's like, why? This is pointless. Don't change stuff that doesn't need to be changed. Especially when it overcomplicates stuff. Like, okay, now to use backgrounds from older books, like Ravnica, and literally anything, I now have to use the build your background ability score increase. And give them a feat. Unless it's Strixhaven. In which case you already get the feat, but oh well. And then I lose the passive, which, yeah, it's neither here nor there. I do actually like, though, so the ability scores, get them out of here, get custom background out of here, because it's a bit too powerful. I'll be honest. It's too good. Especially with the, you just get 50 gold pieces. No, that's powerful. It's a bit too powerful. But, and then the set feats, they're annoying. It's like, it's a system that's there, but it's kind of made it where some backgrounds are just way better than others. And also it's made one of the more powerful ones previously incredibly weak, like, as written. So another issue I have with the backgrounds is kind of how they changed how the language worked to... So all backgrounds get a tool, proficiency, and a language. There's no longer 2 languages or 2 tools. It's just a tool and a language. And the language is a set one no matter what. Yeah. Not the biggest fan of the set languages. And what I'll say as just an idea would be, what if instead of having like a set language for all of them, some of them, perhaps like Noble, I'd probably do this for Entertainer would be another probably. Pilgrim could as well, reasonably. Sage, definitely. And those 4 all get any language of their choice. And then the others have a list of languages, not unlike Ravnica and those backgrounds there for the guilds, where some of the guilds, like, I think all except Orzhov and Azorius, I think, had a list of languages. So, like, for the guide background, it could be, so instead of just Giant, it could be Sylvan, Giant, Elvish. What other good ones would there be? Orc and Goblin, perhaps? Maybe even... Well, no, not Throw and Druidic. And have those 5 options as like, hey, here are your 5. These are 5 that make sense. And like, Cultist could be Abyssal, Infernal, or Primordial. Or even Deep Speech. Those 4 would be the main ones. And then Acolyte could have primarily Celestial, but other languages are available. And kind of give them more variety with what you choose. And then also another good one would be Dwarvish and Elvish and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of cultural deities, but Celestial is a big one for them. And it's sort of like, instead of having that, like, one option and that's it, I think the choices would be cooler. Ability score increase, of course, remove it. Skills, it's what it was before. Tools, what it was before. And then the feat, like, poor Sailor. I feel bad for them because Tavern Brawler, it's an upgrade from one of the worst feats in the game. That said, rest in peace. Just, I don't think a lot of people are going to want that because it's bad. Just bad. But the starting feat, like, I'd personally say just use the choose your background one. There's no reason to have the set one. It's cool, but yeah, it's rough at times. Gonna be honest, but it is what it is. Also, I would remove Savage Attacker from these because Savage Attacker and Lucky, I think, need to be moved up because they're both quite good. And I'm glitching out. Great. Yeah, other than that with this one, there's not much more to talk about, like, that's specific, but we'll see with time. But anyway, without further ado, that has been my thoughts on a lot of the stuff from the One D&D class stuff, and especially the expert classes mainly. Some of the character origins, but it's a bit late for the survey, so hope you all enjoyed it. And of course, I will be linking the page on D&D Beyond for this video, so if you want to check this stuff out, I will link the playtest stuff there. So if you haven't already checked it out, check it out. You can download them for free if you have a D&D Beyond account. So without further ado, see y'all next time. Halo Zoo out.